Okay.
Shoot for 30 would be good. Hello and welcome to the Two-Man Power Trip of Wrestling. I am your host, JP at John Poz. With me, returning guest, actor, writer, international film and TV star, director, author, Peabody Award winner, Mr. Nick Searcy. Welcome back. How you doing?
Good to see you, John.
Now, what is going on in your world? You've been pretty busy lately.
Yeah, we got out of California, and so we kind of, my wife and I are establishing sort of a new residence out here in Kentucky, and got a lot going on. I got a book out, and I'm putting together a movie that we're going to shoot here in Kentucky, hopefully this year. We're still raising the money for it, but yeah, we're having a lot of fun. I'll say that. It's good to be out of California and to be in a really nice part of the country.
I love that you're in Kentucky because of Justified, Art Mullen territory over the chief, if you will. That I love that. It's a very nice connection there.
I'm very famous here. It's like when I'm in California, once in a while somebody might recognize me. In Kentucky, I can't go anywhere. Everybody knows Art Mullen. So,
how great is that, right?
No,
Based off of
it's fun.
Great
it's
show.
Very nice.
One of the greatest shows of all time. Like I was saying before to you, one of the greatest shows, no doubt about it.
Yeah. It was a great show. No way around it. And great writing, great cast, and it was a good mix. I wish they would do it again the right way, but I don't think they will. So.
Yeah, kind of weird with the Primeval. I don't know why we were kind of saying that off air, but I don't know why they went that direction. Just as far as not bringing back all your favorites, if you will, like all the good characters.
Yeah, I mean, it was not. I don't know. When they said they were going to do that, I go, people are going to hate you. You're not bringing back everybody that they loved, and you're only bringing back Raylan. And the other thing about that show was that they took another character that Elmore Leonard had written a series for, and they just sort of stuck Raylan in it. It wasn't even written to be Raylan. And so he's just a fish out of water in Detroit, and like everything that people loved about Justified, the fact that it was in rural Kentucky and, all of that's gone. So, you're just sort of, you've got Raylan and, he's dating people that are not as hot as the people he was dating in Justified. So.
Yeah, not even close. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Crazy though, right? I mean, it's like kind of a Western. He's got like that old gunfighter vibe to him. He's doing the standoff and and then this Primeval. It's not none of that cool vibe to it.
No, the whole thing that people loved about Justified was also that sort of idea of frontier justice, that sometimes the right thing to do is not necessarily the legal thing to do. Right. And that was always the tension between Raylan and Art, as I was the guy trying to keep him in the road. And he was always the one going, well, this guy deserves it. And, Art was like, yeah, you're kind of right. So I'm not going to completely destroy you, but you got to keep it in the road a little bit better. So it was a good tension, and too bad. Well, that's gone now.
Yeah, those were the days. We can still, rewatch it, but those were the days. What a show!
Yeah,
great show. I love though. Like you go on Twitter, you go on X, if you will, and Christian CGW, excuse me, Christian saying, "Oh, John, you got to get Nick Searcy back on the show. He's great. I want to hear his opinions on wrestling. I want to hear what he has to say." So, what do you think about that? What do you think about the world of wrestling right now? I feel like we got to talk current wrestling.
Well, it's pretty interesting right now. I mean, the whole John Cena thing. I mean, when it all kind of came out the way it came out, I loved the heel turn. I did not see that coming. I don't think very many people, if they were honest, saw that coming. But I'm really kind of skeptical about how they're handling it now. I don't know that it's really working out as well as we hoped it would. It's a little bit too obvious now. And I mean, and the simple fact of the matter is John Cena, he's a little bit too old to be totally believable in that role.
Yes.
He can't really do it like he used to do it. So we're having to sort of suspend our disbelief quite a bit to buy him as this sort of unstoppable heel champion, but I guess it's good business, and it certainly draws a lot of eyes to the product. I see why they did it, but it's a little forced right now.
Yeah, then he's wrestling the match. He kind of can barely move. He's got some back problems. He's got some knee issues, and it's just like I don't know, man. If this guy doesn't have the Rock to kind of cover for him and kind of help him win, like there's no way this guy could win. And then he has a 150-pound rapper come and help him. That was like that. Not good either. That doesn't make sense. Like, what the hell? That was
the Rock abandoning the storyline, it just made the whole thing not make sense. It's like, okay, why was the Rock ever there? If he was not going to be there at WrestleMania, why was he involved at all?
Right.
What was the whole thing of like, this whole thing to Cena? And it's like, I guess that was a scheduling thing. I don't know. I mean, what do I know? But it's like, if you weren't going to have him come back at WrestleMania and really make him the reason that Cena's the champion, then I don't see what the point of any of that was.
Yeah, legit made zero sense after that, because it's like Cena really without Rock is kind of like nothing. He could barely move. He can barely do, like, he's just not. I don't know. He's not it without Rock helping him. And the whole story I thought was Rock and Cody. I thought that was the whole thing. So, man, I know maybe the Rock scheduling, like you said, but I mean, what could else? It's just bad writing or bad booking, bad creative.
Well, I got to think that it was like, we're going to try to do this, and then the Rock couldn't do it or didn't want to do it, or I got to think it's something like that. And because I don't think writers could be that bad. I think it's more like, that it was circumstances beyond their control.
Because it's like, okay, you have like the three-headed monster, right? You have The Rock, Cena, and this guy Travis Scott. They're like, okay, three-headed monster. The three of them, they could beat Cody, or like they'll cheat to beat Cody. You take out the main element, that like the muscle, the big guy, the guy in charge, the boss, and the two kind of underling guys, one of which weighs 150 pounds, beats this champion that's been champion for a year that just ended a guy that was champion's reign for 4 years. So I don't know. To me, I'm like, man, that was just not well.
Not done well. Yeah. And the whole Travis Scott thing, I mean, they've been doing this a lot, bringing in Bad Bunny and, bringing in these kind of rappers who like wrestling, and, that's a huge audience, and he's going to bring in all these people. I get it, but I don't buy it. I mean, it's just not, it doesn't fit. And to me, as like a longtime wrestling fan, it's like, it's unnecessary. You don't need that. People that really are buying into the wrestling product, they're offended by that. It's like I was like offended by Travis Scott coming in and doing that. And it's like, who are you really bringing in? People that are going to be there for 5 minutes, and then they're never going to watch the show again after Travis Scott's not there. So I don't get it.
Did you like him getting his own entrance during the match, like his own theme song, and he walked into the ring, took 5 minutes?
Very contrived, very sort of stop everything, and like he came in too slow, and it's just a confusing entrance. It's like, okay, why is he here without the Rock, and what is that skinny little bastard going to do? It's like, he's not going to do anything. What are we even talking about? It was a real kind of confusing and a real off-center moment, I thought.
And it was like, wow, that's how Cody Rhodes loses the title just like that. Like, oof, right? That wasn't good either. It was not good.
No, it kind of made everything silly. It kind of, and I don't know. I don't really know. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure he can, but I don't know exactly how Cody Rhodes recovers from that. He was such an over babyface, and now he's not in the picture at all. Now it's like the next match is Cena and Orton, and Cody Rhodes is not really even involved. So, sorry, my dogs have gone insane.
Oh yeah, no problem. So what does Cody do from here, though? I feel like, man, it's like, where the hell is he? What's going on? Like, he's just going to disappear and drive off into the sunset?
Yeah, I don't know how he comes back. I mean, I guess that'll be interesting. Hopefully it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's not uncommon for a champion like that to disappear for a while after he loses the belt. That's kind of, yeah, you kind of want that. But how does he come back? You know, what's the point of him coming back?
Right.
Who's he coming back for? If Cena's feuding with somebody else, who's he going to take revenge on or whatever? It's a very confusing situation.
Man, just writing wise though, if you look at Cody and him coming back, can he come back and be stronger than ever, or have they ruined him? You know, so to speak, quote unquote, ruined him.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, and I, you know, that's my fear, is that they've kind of ruined him. And, you know, and in some ways, what Cody did was pretty amazing. I mean, it was a straight up babyface reign, right? He was so over. He was hugging the babies and, you know, kissing the children, and, you know, he was Cena, right? And Cena does the heel turn, which is interesting. The former super babyface goes heel against the new super babyface, but now that's kind of dissipated. Now that's kind of lost its allure. So I don't know exactly what they do next. And I'm more concerned about my favorite wrestler, who is kind of out of action for a while, which is Kevin Owens.
Really? He's your favorite? Why? Why Kevin?
I just think he's hilarious. I think he's fascinating. I think he's really, really smart. And he's also just so versatile. It's like he can go from heel to baby face in 15 minutes. He can be whatever they need him to be. He can be that. And he's just such an unconventional looking wrestler. I've just always found him really fascinating. I thought he was really, really good. I mean, I remember back when he and Chris Jericho were doing the best friends thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just hilarious. I think Kevin Owens is kind of a wrestling genius, and I really miss him. He was like he was always my favorite part of the show.
So I'm surprised. I thought you would go babyface, but you're an old Dusty fan or something, you know?
No, I'm very attracted to the heels. I've always liked the heels.
Yeah, I think you were more of a Flair guy, right?
Yeah, Ric Flair was always my guy. And I love Dusty. I mean, when I was a kid, Dusty Rhodes, of course, was everything. But yeah, as I got older and sort of really kind of caught on to how the game is run, it's like wrestling is all about the heel. It's all about the heel. The heel is the one that gets the people to buy the tickets, because the heel has to make the audience so mad that they're willing to pay their money to see somebody beat his ass. That's really the whole psychology of wrestling. And so, you know, I always wanted to be a wrestling heel when I was sort of coming up and, you know, becoming an actor. I was always like, boy, it'd be fun to be one of those guys and come out and have everybody hate you, which may be why I did what I did, is, politically. I wanted to be a heel in Hollywood.
Yeah, get all those guys to turn on you, right? And boo you and stuff. Yeah. Right. Did you ever want to be a wrestler?
Oh, yeah. Well, growing up, yeah, absolutely. I thought about it. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, when I just out of high school. I knew I always wanted to be an actor, but I always loved wrestling because I always saw it as acting. And even tried it a couple of times. I mean, I've done a couple of matches over the years just as a manager or this or that.
Yep.
But it was always kind of like, it was too athletic for me. I was just like, I was a basketball player. I played a little bit of football, but the physical toll on those guys, I mean, the stuff they have to do, the punishment they have to take, it's just a simple taking a body slam. I mean, I've done that a couple of times. It's like, that'll kill a normal person. It's like,
yeah.
It's unimaginable. These guys are like in a car wreck every week, and it's so much work to be one of those guys. And I thought it was much easier to just go learn my lines and try to be clever or something rather than getting in there and flipping around, because it's a lot of work. It's very physical.
Did you ever think, hey, I want to be in the business, but maybe not wrestling? Like, I know you were technically Ring of Honor and stuff like that, but you ever think of I could be Bobby the Brain Heenan, or I could be J.J. Dillon or something like that?
Yeah, it occurred to me. Yeah, I certainly thought about it, but I mean, the danger of that is if you're like somebody like me, an outsider coming in from the outside, it's that's a very, very, it's a hard-earned spot. I'll put it that way. It's you have to earn a lot of respect to become a Bobby Heenan or a Paul Heyman or those kinds of characters. And if you don't earn that respect, then you're always going to be kind of suspect, and sort of people are going to look at you like, oh, he's just a carpetbagger. He's just a guy that's coming in because he's famous or something. And I did that one thing once with Ring of Honor, and it was fun. Yeah. It was fun. They had some fun with it. I took the elbow in the middle of the ring, and the announcer goes, I don't know if Searcy's going to be back for season 6, But to really make me an ongoing character, I don't know that it would really work, and I couldn't really think of a way that it would work, and so I just never really pursued it. But it would be fun. I would have loved it.
The Peabody Award-winning actor, and you really played it up well. That was great. They hated you. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I held that Peabody Award up and said, "This is for excellence in television, something you losers will never know anything about."
Classic heel work. That's the way you got to do it. That's so great.
Matt Hardy is a good friend, and he knew I wanted to do that at least once, so he made it happen. He did that for me, and I'll always appreciate that.
So it's all his fault that you were involved in the business. It's all Matt Hardy's fault.
Yeah, exactly. He brought me in. And in fact, that's kind of how I met Kevin Owens. He was Kevin Steen at the time.
Yep.
And he was wrestling on the independent circuit, and Matt was wrestling him. And Matt and I had sort of started doing this thing where if Matt had a match, I would send in a little YouTube video from the set of Justified commenting on his match, So that's kind of how I got to know Kevin, is I made some tape as Art Mullen going, Matt Hardy, I can't imagine what it must be like to have to wrestle somebody like Kevin Steen. I mean, the odor alone, the stench alone must be almost paralyzing, And Kevin actually back then, he kind of sent me a DM going, nice heat, dude. Thanks. So
yeah, awesome. Nice. So he was a nice guy too, besides you loving him as a wrestler. He was actually a nice guy.
He was very nice. I mean, I never met him in real life, but we had a little exchange on Twitter, and it was fun.
Man, it's all thanks to Matt Hardy that you got brought in. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. I've had a couple of run-ins with some wrestlers here and there, and
the Nature Boy buddy. What's his name? What the hell is his name? The Nature Boy. Paul Lee. The Nature Boy, Paul Lee.
Yeah, Paul Lee and I got to be friends. I tried to make a documentary about wrestling in Georgia, in northern Georgia, the sort of independent circuit, and got to know Paul a little bit. And then at one time I got in a Twitter fight with Kevin Nash, which was sort of funny.
Was that over politics? I was trying to remember what that was about.
It was over politics, and I made fun of him because he said, I don't know, it was probably about Trump. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but he said something, and I made fun of him, and he got mad. He got legitimately mad. So I ended up making a little videotape of me punching a bag in the local gym going, I'm training, Kevin, or I kept calling him Prius instead of Diesel,
Yes. Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
I don't know. I think Kevin is still mad at me. I'm hoping I don't run into him, because I think he's still upset about that.
Yeah, 7-foot monster. Yeah, you might want to be careful.
Yeah.
Tread lightly with Nash. Yeah,
exactly.
So he never reached out to you after that to say oh, hey, you were joking or anything like that? Never heard?
No, I don't think he was joking. I don't think he was. Well, I think he was legitimately serious about his political opinion, and I made fun of him for that. So no, I think he's still mad.
You're pretty passionate about your politics. I know you're passionate about your wrestling, but you're passionate about your politics as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I say what I think, and the whole January 6th thing made me a little bit more passionate because, I was there that day, and then I saw what the government was saying about the people, and it was a lie. So I ended up making 2 documentaries about it, and it kind of, it made me a little bit more outspoken because what they did to these people still infuriates me. I think it's horrible what was done to the January 6th people, and it's ongoing.
Crazy government lying to us. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Never happens, right?
No, exactly. It's like, that's one of the things that's so hard to, I don't understand why people think it's so outrageous for me to say that the government's lying about January 6th. I mean, they lied about JFK. They lied about weapons of mass destruction. They lied about COVID. They've lied about everything. They've been lying for 50 years. Why do you think suddenly now they will never not tell you the truth?
Yes, that's kind of weird. It's like they've been lying forever. Now they're going to be honest all of a sudden in 2020. I mean, come on, crazy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've it's been an interesting journey. Since I did those documentaries, it's definitely sort of changed the trajectory of my work in Hollywood. But thankfully, I was about done with it anyway, and it's not like something that I really miss. But I certainly have not worked as much in the last 5-6 years as I used to.
Is that because of them kind of turning on you, or is that you also just are winding it down, looking to do less?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, I think definitely me sort of not being part of the mainstream in Hollywood politically has had some impact, but it's also other factors. I mean, you get to be my age. The roles are, they're fewer and farther between. And also Hollywood, just simple fact that they're making less product than they used to make. They're not making as many films. They certainly aren't making as many films, let's say, that have like a lot of old white people in it, unless they're like racists or something,
right?
Which I sort of tend to stay away from. I've sort of played too many of those things. I mean, the joke I always tell is like, I'm tired of playing Democrats. I've played too many racists. But
right.
I think that's part of it, and also just that the business they've killed a lot of the business. I mean, they're not making as many films. When they do make films, a lot of them are being shot overseas. And also, since I'm an older white guy now, everybody's available and we're all in the same category. So it's like where I used to be competing against guys that were about as famous as me, now I'm competing against like Jeff Bridges or something. It's like, I mean, so there's not that much for me to do anymore. Most of the things that they send me are not things that I'm really interested in. And I'm sort of at a point in my life where it's like, I don't really need the money. Money's always nice, but it's like, I'd rather spend time with my family and, poking around on the farm and doing nothing. I'd rather do that at this point. So.
When you look at Hollywood too, it seems like a lot of things are going away from just filming over there, because now New Jersey's going to have the big Netflix studios. Georgia is really booming. It seems like everything's kind of moving away from California and Hollywood just anyway, as far as a lot of the filming and what's going on.
They've allowed other states to pretty much steal the business. It's become so expensive to shoot in California in almost every way. I mean, just buying a gallon of gas. The taxes, the food, everything costs more, the unions. So, states have developed, these tax incentives to bring the film industry there, and they're actively going after the business, and California isn't doing anything to keep it. So it's they're kind of giving it away. I mean, this movie that I'm trying to put together they want to shoot it in Kentucky because Kentucky has a great rebate for the film industry. California is not competing with that. They're not competing with the states that are offering these incentives, so they're losing the business.
Please say it's something wrestling related that you're trying to do.
Not quite. I wish it was. I did have a wrestling movie that I wanted to develop, but I couldn't get any takers. I wanted to do a movie about Norvell Austin and Sputnik Monroe, which is
really wow.
Back in the 60s. They were the first interracial tag team back in like 61 in Memphis wrestling. And I just thought that was a great story. Sputnik Monroe is a great, great character in wrestling history, and somebody needs to do a very a good biopic about him. But somebody has the rights to Sputnik sewed up, and it's all complicated. I think HBO owns the screenplay, and they don't want to make it. They don't want to give it away. So it's like, it just, at the end, it was like, well, I guess we just can't make that movie. So.
You like any of the wrestling movies that have come out recently, like Iron Claw or Queen of the Ring, or have you seen any of those?
Yeah, I saw Iron Claw. I thought it was pretty good. Some of the casting was a little funny. But,
right. Carrie, who's, like the Incredible Hulk, is, some short, small guy. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but, it was interesting. And I liked just the fact that they made a movie about that, I thought was a great thing. I mean, that's a really, really interesting story. The Von Erichs is a great family tragedy story. But it's hard to make a movie about wrestling because, wrestling is a work. And you're making a movie as a work, so you're making a work about a work. And it's kind of more interesting to watch the real thing than it is to watch a movie about a thing that you're trying to believe is the real thing, if that makes any sense. It's like,
right. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yep.
And that's why most wrestling movies aren't very good, because it's just not satisfying. It's like, you want to believe the illusion. If you make a movie about the behind the scenes of the illusion, it's like, it's not like making a movie about a boxer or an athlete where they either, like Rocky or something, he wins the fight or he loses the fight. It's like wrestling is all, the outcome is predetermined. So you can't do a wrestling movie where the wrestler wins the big match at the end of the movie. It's like, everybody knows that's bullshit.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever seen The Wrestler back in the day with Mickey Rourke?
Oh, yeah. Great movie. Yeah. And that was one, though, that was not so much about the business as it was about what happens to a guy after he's washed out of the business. And that's what made that movie great. I love that movie. That was a terrific, terrific film. And there's also a movie called The Wrestler that was that Vern Gagne made back in the early 70s.
Yep.
That's a really interesting movie too. Although they tried to do kind of a Rocky thing with that, and it's a little stupid, but it's pretty fun to watch. There's some great cameos in there from Dusty Rhodes and Dirty Dick Murdoch, I think. Yeah, they were the Outlaws at the time they made the movie, the Texas Outlaws. And they have a little cameo, and there's a barroom brawl in it. It's an interesting film, but only if you're like a really hardcore wrestling fan like I am.
Or Body Slam, right, with Dirk Benedict and the Tonga Kid, right, from the 80s. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, well, yeah, it's very, I don't know, I guess you could say campy, maybe a little corny, but yeah, it's kind of, Dirk Benedict is like his agent, and Tonga Kid's trying to be like the new wrestler, in
really?
town kind of thing.
Body
it's
Slam.
Interesting.
I'll try to find that. I don't know that one.
What about No Holds Barred? You probably know No Holds Barred.
Yeah, I saw that. Not great.
No. Zeus, although Kurt Fuller's a good actor, though, he's a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good acting in it, but that's one of those things. It's like, I'd rather just watch WrestleMania. I don't want to watch that movie.
Right. Just watch Hogan versus Zeus.
Yeah. But I miss those old days.
Yeah, you love old school wrestling, but I guess you got free time in your hands, so you're keeping up with the current wrestling a lot. It seems
Yeah,
like.
I stay up to date with it. I watch it. I mean, sometimes it's a little. I flip through a lot of it. Some of it I don't pay attention to, but yeah, it's like my soap opera. It's like I can't miss it. I got to know what's going on. What are they doing with Cena? What's going.
Yeah.
I just have to know. And sometimes I get on the YouTube and go to WrestleMania, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Check that out. That's good stuff over there. Funny stuff.
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite outside of Owens? Outside of Kevin Owens, who's obviously injured right now. Who else?
Well, the current wrestlers. I like Orton. I think Orton's always good and always solid and fascinating. And the RKO is great.
Yep.
It's tough. Whenever I think about it now, it's like I always am drawn back to the old days. I love the Randy Savage years and Miss Elizabeth and all that. My wife and I, this is a funny story. My wife and I's first date, or not our first date, but like when we first started dating, I told her I was a wrestling fan. She said, "I've never seen a wrestling match." I go, You've never seen one wrestling match?" She's like, "No." And I said, "Well, we're going." And so our second or third date was Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden.
Awesome.
We were living in New York at the time. And she was like, we had met doing a play where some nights we would have one or two people in the audience and we would do the play anyway. We were way off Broadway. And she looked around and she was like, "Look at all these people at this wrestling match. Can you imagine if this was the theater?" And I go, "Leslie, this is theater. That's exactly what this is. Protagonist, antagonist. This is total theater, and that's why it's so successful." But I do love for the modern wrestlers. I think Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and the Seth Rollins, CM Punk, that whole thing, that was pretty interesting. That was good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not as big a fan of CM Punk as most people, though.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I realize that he's really great at what he does and he's great on the mic and all that, but there's just something about him. I don't know. I just don't buy it. It's like I can suspend my disbelief a lot with Roman Reigns, right? I can sort of really get into what he's doing. There's something authentic about him. He's not so slick. CM Punk is just like kind of too slick, too clever. I can see it coming. So the other one I like too, the other one I have been kind of fond of lately is Drew McIntyre.
Oh, he's great.
I liked him since he turned heel, and he's always whining about everything. I love that. I think he's great.
Do you also love that he's kind of like blurring the lines of like reality and stuff, and doing that kind of cool stuff?
And I think too he does a really interesting thing with Twitter. He blurs the line with Twitter, where he goes after his opponents in really personal ways on Twitter, so that you can't tell, is he really just that big an asshole, or is this a work? And I think that's pretty fascinating.
And then you read like, oh, he left the building in a huff, and everybody covers it like it's legit. But is he being serious or is he working? Like, I like that stuff too, because it's like, man, is he really like a malcontent, or is he's unhappy? What's going on with this guy?
Yeah,
he's working everybody.
And I think that's really when modern wrestling is at its best, is when it does that, because it's so hard now, since all the behind the scenes stuff is out in the open now. It's so hard to get like a really believable grudge, like a really believable storyline where it goes, "Oh yeah, Seth Rollins and CM Punk, they really hate each other's guts," And I think Drew McIntyre's good at that. He's good at blurring that line, and that's why I like Kevin Owens. I thought the best thing of last year was the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, all those feuds that Kevin Owens had. They all were just white hot, really personal. They hated each other's guts. and Kevin Owens was trying to cripple everybody with the pile driver. That was to me that was the most fun last year.
And crazy, he had a neck injury and he took that bump at the Royal Rumble where he, basically right on his back of his head, right on his neck.
Through the ladder.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing that and thinking that doesn't look good. That had to really do some damage, And I'm hoping he's okay because he, like I said, he's really my favorite guy.
Yeah, it looks like he might be out for a while, so you might have to pick some other favorites. You know what I mean, and keep up with them.
Yeah. Well, when he came out and said that, he did that announcement on Raw where he said, "I don't know when I'll be back."
Right.
That kind of scared me.
Yeah, so that's always scary when those wrestlers do that because these neck injuries, not good, not kind. Scary.
Yeah. And Daniel Bryan, he was out for years.
Yep.
But finally came back.
So
do you watch a lot of the AEW?
Yeah, actually I do. I'm not as into it. I think WWE is better, but AEW has got some guys that I like and some stuff that I enjoy. So do you watch AEW at all or no?
I haven't, off and on. I'll flip over there, see what's going on. I kind of like the whole MJF run when he was champion. I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I haven't been watching a lot lately. I haven't seen a lot of it. I flipped over to it last night for a minute and saw Osprey and what's his name, the cowboy
Hangman Page.
Yeah. I saw them starting something, but I don't know. I didn't get too interested in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they grab me and I'm interested, and sometimes it's just it's just not as good. You can kind of fast forward through a lot of it. Yeah, it's hit or miss for whatever reason. They're just not hitting their stride.
I did sort of like Timeless Tony Storm. I thought
yes, she's good.
That was an interesting gimmick. I like the whole silent film star. Really, you're a silent film star wrestler. All right.
She really gets into it though. She really, really plays the character well. Some people that kind of faking it that they're playing this character. She's really like diving into it.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, and that's what I always liked about Matt Hardy was like his commitment to the characters. That when he was doing Broken Matt Hardy and then Woken Matt Hardy and all that, delete and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, that's pretty admirable for to watch him really reinvent himself so many times over the years.
Man, that's your boy. We have him to thank for you at least being somewhat part of the business.
That's right.
For a little bit with Ring of Honor. But as we hit the one day, we head towards the finish. What is next for you? What are you working on? What can we look forward to? How about the book? I mean, what's next for you?
Well, I'm thinking about writing another book, more of a novel. But what I'm really working on now, and I've been working on this for about 6 or 7 years, is a feature film that I wrote with a friend of mine that's set in the 1960s, and it's about Southern gospel quartet music in the 1960s, and sort of that era where Elvis was sort of popular, but he was also bleeding into the gospel world, and rock and roll music and gospel music were sort of blending together. And it's kind of a coming of age story about a really hotshot young piano player who plays in bars, who enters the gospel music world and plays with a quartet, and they start getting famous because his playing is a little bit more rock and roll than they're used to. And so there's a real tension there because a lot of the real gospel purists are going, you better watch that left hand there, son. There's a little too much Satan in there. And so it's kind of it's a real pet project of mine, a labor of love. I grew up with that music. A lot of my uncles and first cousins are preachers. And, one of my first cousins was a singer in a gospel quartet. So it's something that personally means a lot to me, and we're almost there. We're pretty much 80% funded, and we're hopefully going to shoot the movie in October of this year.
Elvis, big wrestling fan apparently back in the day.
Oh yeah,
Apparently, he used to sneak into the Mid-South Coliseum, with Jerry Jarrett would help him hide out, and he would watch the matches.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we need to do a movie about Elvis. Well, the Mid-South thing, that's a great thing that somebody needs to do a movie about. That whole Mid-South wrestling was such a interesting world.
Yeah.
Because Sputnik Monroe came out of that, and Jerry Jarrett and
Jerry Lawler,
Jackie Fargo, and all those guys.
They dealt it a little bit with Lawler and Kaufman, which was awesome.
Yeah, Lawler and Kaufman kind of made them a little bit world famous. But I remember seeing a match with, before Randy Savage came to the WWE, he and Lawler had this incredible feud in Memphis. Which
kind of spawned off of reality.
Yeah, yeah. Randy actually came from, I think he started in Kentucky.
Yeah, with his dad, yeah.
Yeah. And so I know some people up here in Lexington that, that remember when he started. And there's Ohio Valley Wrestling is here in Louisville.
Yes. Yep.
And I've been trying to meet Al Snow. I've been trying to get a meeting with Al Snow, which is a show that on Netflix that's really great. Is that show Wrestlers?
Yes, very good
documentary about them. So on June 14th, I'm going to go over to a Ohio Valley show, and I have a friend who's going to introduce me to Al. So that could jumpstart a new manager career for me right there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'm an hour away from Louisville, and I'm sure some of these young wrestlers, they need an old hand like me to lead them through the business. So,
yeah, do you think that you could talk to Al and say, "Hey, let me get on the air here. I'm a Peabody Award-winning international film and TV star. Let's go here."
Well, we'll give it a shot. We'll see if he's a justified fan. We'll see.
He better be. Damn it.
Yeah.
I got to put this up to justify this. The book. Where can everybody get this book?
Yep. It's you can also get your own autographed copy if you just DM me on Twitter. I'll tell you how to do it. So.
Available on Amazon as well. What's your socials? Like, what's your Twitter handle so everybody?
Yes, Nick Searcy. YES Nick Searcy. Just like, hey, is that Nick Searcy? Yes, Nick Searcy. So.
Anything else, like social-wise, you want to promote? Anything else you got going on?
Oh, that's about it. Yeah, usually I'm old school. I don't do Instagram or all that other stuff. I got stuck on Twitter, and that's all I do. And my wife says I do that too much. So
possibly. You're great on there, though. I love it. I keep my eye to it all the time. I'm loving it, and especially writing back to some of those, some of those crazy people. I love it. I love reading what I'm seeing on there.
No, I have a little bit too much fun on there. So.
She's watching you though. She's making sure, like, don't go on there too much. She's getting on you.
Yeah. Well, she won't even go on there. She won't read it. It's more about the time I spend, not what I say.
Oh, gotcha. Not paying attention to her. Yes.
Right.
Yep. Right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. Awesome having you back on. Thank you.
Well, John, it's a pleasure. It's always fun to talk wrestling. There's not too many people in my life that I can talk wrestling with. Even my own kids. I had my daughter for about 3 years there, and then she got to be 14, and she's like not interested in it anymore. And then I had my son in there for a few years, and even he's like, "Dad, that stuff is dumb." I'm like, you don't get it.
Damn it. Well, good thing I'm here because we can always talk wrestling. That's right. That's for sure.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. You have a great one. Thank you. Appreciate it.